Now. All right. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Micah Thomas with Greenlight, and I'll be your host tonight. And we're thrilled to host tonight's event with Ama Codjoe launching her new book, Bluest Nude. She'll be talking to Sharon Olds, so you're in for an excellent treat. Before we start, I just want to say a huge thank you to Ama, Sharon, and the team at Milkweed for making this happen, and to all of you for showing up. We're grateful for your support and for the chance to make space for conversation and connection. Now, just a couple of housekeeping things. In our Zoom webinar tonight, you can see and hear the speakers, but they can't see and hear you. They can see that you're here though, and we invite you to engage with the authors and each other using the chat, which you can find by clicking on the icon that looks like one speech balloon. You're welcome to post your comments and thoughts in the chat. That's a great way to show your appreciation for the author and interact with fellow attendees. And importantly, tonight's featured book, Bluest Nude, is available for sale from Greenlight Bookstore. You can shop in person from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. at both our Fulton Street location and Flatbush stores, where you can purchase Ama's book and many others on site. You can also order online at greenlightbookstore.com for a quick pickup at the store or for shipping anywhere in the US. Once we get started, I'll drop the links in the chat. As thanks for attending tonight's virtual event, we are offering 10% off the future book. Enter coupon code GreenlightEvents10 into the coupon discount section at the checkout online for 10% off. I'll also copy that in there. Our interview tonight is Sharon Olds. Olds is the Pulitzer Prize-winning author of 12 books of poetry, with her newest collection, Ballads, forthcoming in 2022. Olds is the Eric Marie Remarque Professor of Creative Writing at New York University's Graduate Creative Writing Program. She lives in New York City. She'll be speaking with our featured author, Ama Codjoe. Codjoe is the author previously of Blood of the Air, winner of the Drinking Gourd Chapbook Poetry Prize. She has been awarded support from Cave Canem, Robert Rauschenberg, and Sultan Stahl Foundations, among others. Her recent poems have appeared in The Atlantic, The Nation, the Best American Poetry Series, and elsewhere. Ama's new book, Bluest Nude, explores how the archetype of artist complicates the typical expectations of women: be gazed upon, be silent, be selfless, reproduce. Dialoguing with and through art, the poems of Bluest Nude consider alternative ways of holding and constructing the self. From Lorna Simpson to Gwyneth Brooks to Lynette Yadim Boak, contemporary and ancestral artists populate Bluest Nude in a choreography of Codjoe's making. Sharon's gonna talk to us a little bit about the book and do some poetry, and then Ama will join us in reading from the book, and then they'll both be in conversation with you and everyone else. Please take it away, Sharon.
Thank you so much. What a nice welcome. It's so thrilling to see you, Ama. And when I thought it was just Micah, you and Ama and me, I said to Ama, this is a book by a grown-ass woman. And then I said, don't worry, I won't say that. Because, I'm from the time when you couldn't say anything. And they said, it's okay, you can say that. And that is a very important thing to me. The depth to which Ama's poems go in my heart and my mind and my sense of herstory and history is very deep. And it is so important to me, the deep trust that I have, Ama, in your spirit and your caretaking of your fellow mortals. So I just want to say a word or two about the book before I read my poems. One thing I was just thinking that I hadn't even thought of is part of why this book is so moving to me is that it uses an I, not merely autobiographical, and it has a sense of the internal and personal as well as the larger group. And so I come to this book, Bluest Nude. I love saying it Bluest Nude. There's this little in there, Bluest Nude. With my own needs as a writer, as my needs as a person, and I want to just mention a few of the qualities about the book. First, that it's very original without being far-fetched original. It's very original because Ama is original and she has access to giving words to her ideas and visions and thoughts and feelings. And at the same time as being original and what's that word for brand new? Experimental and down to earth. So I love and trust that combination. It also, for me, is a book of storytelling without any of the old-fashioned strictures of old-fashioned narrative. So space and time move around on their own in the book, and it's so deeply contemporary. It's also rich with imagery, but not surreal. So the worlds that it is picturing and singing are worlds that its readers recognize. Another really important thing for me about Bluest Nude is the presence of generations of Black women artists and writers, which give the book a powerful grounding and give me a sense of, they've been feeding us all along. They've been nourishing and nurturing us all along. And since in our species, probably from the beginning of art, there have been artists who have made portraits of people who are other to them. And the portraits that they have made are often false and wicked. That's my new word for evil. I can't just say sick, and I can't anymore say evil as if it has to do with a god. For me, it's wicked. And this book, with such lack of bad cheer, brings us alternate representations of an I and a people that allow us to move forward from our art history by people who are writing about those they don't understand, and our popular history. Qualities that I think of in Ama Codjoe's book are clarity, mourning. She has the courage of mourning, tenderness, and truth, subtle truth and raw truth. So to me, it's a book of revelation, transformation, turning, moving away from others' images of oneself to one's own vision of one's life and of the various worlds that each of us lives in. I'm going to drink some water. And of course, whenever a poet as old as I am reads the work of the young, we learn a lot. These Ama's poems are poems I could never have written at her age or any other age. So I am extremely lucky to live to be old so that I can see the future of poetry. I'm going to read 3 poems from my book that will be out in hours, minutes, days, very soon. It's called Ballads with a Z. Ballads. And here is one of the poems from that book. What came next after our father's death? His wife was over at the sink. There was bird of paradise outside the thick ceiling to floor windows and snake plant an elephant ear, and mother-in-law's tongue. My father had taken a breath and let it out. The skin of his face glossy as a bare root, yellow, green, white, like a bone or an orchid petal. He did not inhale again, and his heart beat and beat without air. He was a dead man, his heart beating, he not breathing. Then there was a hall with artificial light, then an inner room, no windows, a lamp like an oil lamp, and I was with my sister, as if in a tomb, the windowless room where the families sat while the dead were dying, and then sat when the dead had died, and my sister told me. She told me what our father had tried to do to her once when he was blind, drunk, maybe in a blackout, as if he didn't know who she was when she was 15. And he had tried to go on, but she had hid, then escaped on the occasion of their first and last visitation rights dinner after the divorce. As she told me, we held hands, my left, her right, my left, like a folk dance, my sister, with the power to ensure that I would not know during his life the worst of our father, that I'd never know him until he was safely dead, so that for his whole life I had been safe from the knowledge of him, and he had been safe from my knowledge of him. I think I've only read that poem once. I kind of liked that my throat started roaring. Oh, and keep me track of time. Keep me track of time. Margaret, keep me track of time. I might not have room for two. So tell me after I read this one if it's time. Oh yes, quarantine. Much of this book was written during the 2 years that I was living alone in the woods with some neighbors who I would wave at through the window. Quarantine. When I leave the city for the house in the woods, in the room where I sat, an oval mirror balanced vertical, and sometimes a brass ball cast a bent spear of sun onto the glass, which bounced a fishhook onto the ceiling. Outside the window, black oil seed dangled like the bars of a score, the songbirds in a darting frenzy around them. Elsewhere, people sicken and die. Elsewhere, people starve and thirst and hide by dawn and walk by evening and perish, and their parents perish. I tried to hide from knowing that. I send money, I send for a cotton dress for the hot weather, for the eating and drinking and writing, describing the luxuries of my vantage point in plenty and safety. I do not give enough, and my taxes are spent by the orange cockatoo in the white man house on bailing out bankers. Okay, spend the rest of the day sending money to the hungry, pay back a tithe of what generations of my family stole. I am of a people of thieves and beaters of children. I was not beaten because of my race, but because I belonged to my mother, and I was a girl and a child and obedient, I mean sane. I never thought of saying no to her until I was a head taller than my mother. and I did not deserve to be beaten, but now I see it. I have not ever in my life been beaten outside my gender or my family or my color. Shout to me, Margaret.
I think now you're good. That's it for time.
Good, good. Ama, I love you. I appreciate you. I love your writing. You make the world and the future look so good and so possible to me. And now we get to hear you read. Mwah.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. I mean, I don't even know. It feels like we're just here together because of this webinar, and like we're just sitting in a room together, and that is like, I don't even know, a miracle. I am so grateful to share this time with you. And I mean, the way that you talked about the book, it just makes me feel known, which is a gift. And your utter and consistent courage and seeing and paying attention to, which is love, is just inspiring. So thank you. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Greenlight and Micah for hosting us. To all of you who are out there, lovely friends and strangers, thanks for making time to spend time with Bluest Nude in this shape and form. I have to thank Milk Reed Editions for publishing the book, every single person who works there, but especially Daniel Slager for saying yes, Mary Austin Speaker, who acquired the book, edited the book, helped typeset the book, and design this amazing cover. So she, oh my gosh, yes, she was amazing. And Morgan LaRocca, who is the publicist there, for helping coordinate these readings. Finally, before I read, I just want to say thank you to my friends, family, beloveds, my mentors, my teachers. Oh my word. So thanks, y'all. And here we go. Poem after Betty Saar's The Liberation of Aunt Jemima, as spoken by Aunt Jemima. What if, Betty, instead of a rifle or hand grenade, I mean, what if after the loaded gun that takes two hands to fire, I lay down the splintered broom and the steel so cold it wets my cheek? What if I unclench the valleys of my fist and lay down the wailing baby? Gonna burn the moon in a cast iron skillet. Gonna climb men who, when they see my face, turn into stony mountains. Gonna get out of the kitchen. Gonna try on my nakedness like a silk kimono. Gonna find me a lover who eats nothing but pussy. Let the whites of my eyes roll, roll. Gonna clench my toes. Gonna purr beneath my own hand. Gonna take down my hair. Try on a crown of crow feathers. Gonna roam the wide aisles of the peach grove, light dripping off branches like syrup, leaves brushing the fuzz of my arms. You dig? Gonna let the juice trickle down my chin. Gonna smear the sun like war paint across my chest. Gonna shimmy into a pair of royal blue bell bottoms. Gonna trample the far out thunderclouds, heavy in their lightness. Watch them slink away. Gonna grimace, gonna grin, gonna lay down my sword, pick up the delicate eggs of my fist. Gonna jab the face that hovered over mine. It's easy to find the lips, surrounded as they are in minstrel black. Gonna bloody the head of every god, ghost, or swan who has torn into me, pried me open with its beak. Gonna catch my breath in a hunting trap. Gonna lean against the ropes. Gonna break the nose of mythology. Good night, John Boy. Gonna ice my hands in April's stream. Gonna scowl and scream and shepherd my hollering into a green pasture. Gonna mend my annihilations into a white picket fence. Gonna whip a tornado with my scarlet handkerchief. Spin myself dizzy as a purple-lipped drunkard. Gonna lay down by the riverside, sticky and braless in the golden sand. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more.
Woo!
Marigolds of fire. One, he had a caribou's face. Once he let me lick the sadness there. It tasted of salt and moss-covered rocks. He grew the beard of a mountain goat. He scaled the face of a mountain. Lying beside him, I stared into the face of faceless waters whose velvet antlers cradled us. He wore a bison's face. Sometimes he wallowed in the dust, tossing his head from side to side, wearing deep grooves into the braided rug. Mornings, he refused to betray his dreams. He had an antelope's face. I could go on like this. I liked how he led me almost a shove, how he kissed me, mercy, how I kissed him back, my back against the foyer wall. Sometimes we called to each other like birds. It wasn't ritual. How can I explain? He laced his fingers, made his knees a ladder. I braced myself on his backward horns. I climbed him then into the tree. 2. In the end, we were delivered back to the strange mud from which we crawled. The bed gave us back, unastonished, our aching, separate bodies. This is skin, it told us. Skin, I wrote. I would commit its meaning to memory. 3. A football player slaps the butt of a passing girl. She turns to face a silver hand dangling from each player's wrist. Windless chimes. Under their helmets, the teammates wear the same blank face. Can I tell you, I wanted them all? 4. In the beginning, there was blood or the threat of blood. Born from clay, we sought a fire that could finish us. We sewed a garland of marigolds. We ate good blossoms whole. 5. He takes his coffee with cream and sugar. She takes it black. She scans her wardrobe for a dress. They respond to emails and tidy their desks. At 4 a.m., the garbage truck jostles her awake. He sleeps best on his side, on his back, on his belly. He calls her lady. Though before she'd wince at this term of endearment, she hears the word babe slip out of her. It slips out of her mouth. His eyes are tired. She has bags under her eyes. She waters the cactus. In a slip, the sky turns stormy. He forgets the umbrella. She wants to storm out. He believes she'll leave. He forgets to call. She calls him a name. She takes it back. He takes it black. No sugar. He's confused. He wants a baby. She winces. They rub their eyes. It was a slip, a mistake. He packs his bags. She irons a sky blue dress. She can't stand his silences, the way he slips in and out of her. The phone was on silent. The ringer was off. She removes the ring from the tub. He sleeps on the couch on his side. The sky is a bath of coffee grounds. Her face is full of clouds. His eye waters. Somewhere near a marsh, there's a starling roosting. I'm saying the middle was filled with the end. Lotioning my mother's back. Because she lives alone and my hands reach where hers can't, she asks of me this favor. It is narrow and soft, my mother's back. When I massage in small circles, my mother circles her own mother. who is made of whatever makes a shadow thin and ungraspable. She wants to touch her, the bones under my mother's skin, rib cage, scapula, spine, feel like sharp winter rain. Between the clouds, I see a patch of sky, glimpse my aging body, moles like a flicker of paint, undersides of half-covered breasts, patches of eczema, my fingers soothe with heavy cream. Is this what a laying on of hands means? Once my mother touched a garment and said, full of an awe, full of sadness, she touched this. Her skin was inside of this. My mother's back shines like the hands I wipe on the towel's face. Weren't miracles always beginning this way? And I'm gonna read the last poem in the book, and then Sharon and I are gonna have a conversation. There is a scar near my right eye. No lover ever noticed or kissed. A faint mark, split skin sewn. And so, and now, there was never a before. Never a time when the wind did not smell of dust or storm or brine or blood. Never an hour when I entered a field of bluebells without trampling at least one flower. And so, and then, on the day I was born, a stampede of horses filled my chest. Astronomers can only guess how the universe formed. The planet is dying. The horses, the mothers, the farmers, the bees. I am the ground, its many grasses and wild clover. My teeth grow yellow, ache, decay. I wash a plate, polishing the moon's face. Both will outlast my brutal hands. And so, in the minutes of after, the moon drips on the silver rack, and the plate floats, cracked with age, in outer space. A stray soapsud sparkles, then bursts. Thank you.
That's not enough. That's not enough. We'll have time at the end.
Yes, sure.
The beauty of your voice is like the beauty of your character. It's steady, it's even, it's beautiful. I mean, it's sensual, there's resonance. And it's never asking, I would say, it's never asking the reader for anything. It's like pure gift. I love that.
Thank you, Sharon.
Oh, yes, I see where it says organic, genuine, yes, delectable, yes. Someone else wants more too. So should we talk a bit and then will you read us another couple of poems?
Yes, Sharon.
Do I get to ask you the first question?
Yes, please.
Was that on our thing? Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still in the spirit of your reading. Your poems are very strong. They are never making nice, but they're never making not nice. They are so nourishing and building. Okay, well, my first question that I made up after I'd read your book a couple of times comes from this, that I noticed that there are many different forms in Bluest Nude. Triplets, couplets, one-line stanzas, stanzas of sextets, step down quatrains, one-piece poems, some erasure, a triplet quatrain duet, and then a form with a lot of paper showing through, which I think of as experimental, blown dandelion, clouds of all sorts, very natural. So what I want to ask you is, when in the writing of a poem, does the poem reveal to you the form that it wants to be in?
That's such a great poet question. Well, thank you for your noticing, Sharon, and your reading of the book, your multiple readings of the book. I don't know. I think I can answer this by saying that I oftentimes am trying to do something different. So if I notice that I'm writing poems that can't get past a page, then I'm like, okay, this next poem I'm gonna write, I'm just gonna try to keep pushing the ending. Or like, I'm noticing poems that are really living in a narrative world. Okay, what would happen if I just took some documents and somehow used them and made them? So there's maybe an impulse at the beginning about just like pushing away from whatever feels comfortable at the time. Yeah, that's how
That makes sense, because that's what the body and the matter of your poems are doing, as well as the form. So it makes sense that, and that's how we hope to still have an earth like next week, if not next year, is to be able to do things different.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have my first question for you, Sharon. Well, and I guess we didn't really say, I mean, I met Sharon. Well, Sharon maybe doesn't remember. I remember the exact moment I met Sharon. I remember the exact moment I heard Sharon read for the first time. But the first time we met was at Community of Writers in 2015. And then I was lucky enough to study with Sharon at NYU. And I know from listening to you that you often coax words out of your manuscript when you're getting to like the final part of it. And you kind of do this, I don't know if you still do it, but hand like math around the words and how much they are occurring in the manuscript. And so I wondered, for Ballads, your new book that's coming out next month, what were some of the things that you noticed in terms of recurrences and repetitions or themes that came up in that process for you?
Cool, cool. Yes, I call it the cliche round robin. But yesterday I read what the source of the term round robin is. It is a list that is put in a circle so no one can tell the order in which the names were put down.
Oh.
Like for a petition or something. I hadn't known that till yesterday. Yes, I write often using the same words, and not always because they're the only one, but I get into a habit or a kind of habit of putting sparkles on my poems. So the words bright and shining and glittering and glistening and all of that partly comes from the particular kind of background I had in terms of Christian hymns and all of that iconography of light and dark that we are in the process of getting over. So I wanted to stop using so many cliches. I didn't have time with ballads to go through and try to fix the cliches. But the winner of the cliche round robin in ballads was the word mother. With, I think it won with 138 appearances.
Wow.
So that is too many, but there they are.
Well, it's a big book from what I saw online.
Yes, it's long.
Yeah.
It's long. Right.
Yeah.
And I have found that doing the cliche round robin, then when I'm writing, if I start to go towards one of my old cliche words, but even before putting it down, I can say, and see if I can find something new.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, now here's another thing that just came to me. This isn't a real question. While you were reading, I didn't hear the forms. So clearly to me, they aren't there to make different stopping places. And they aren't there to make the measures of a different dance. I felt as if the river flow of your generous and interesting voice was almost consistent. So that's just an observation. What's my next question? Oh, this is fun. Oh, yes. I love the cover.
Yeah.
I love the word bluest, like the superlative of the blues. And I love the milkweed. I wasn't even remembering that it's milkweed press, but the milkweed glow, both glossy and flat on the work of art, the sculpture. And it looks to me, the cover, like a bell ringing to wake us up. It's like a wake up call. But I wonder when the cover came to you.
Wow. I love this question because I love this cover so much. Well, I don't know when I mean, years and years ago at this point, because it takes so long to make a book, I knew that I wanted a sculpture by Simone Lee, who is a visual artist and is kind of like this, she is like a star at this point. At that point, she wasn't really a star, but I don't know. There's something about not only her work, but the way she is in the world. Like she's very, in interviews, very generous and kind of very humble and very grown, as you were saying before. Like she's an artist who's been at it for a long time without a lot of accolades or shine. So I had two sculptures in mind, and then I saw the designs that Mary Austin Speaker worked on, and I liked this design, that's this cover. And I had some really amazing friends who gave me encouragement, and I asked Simone Lee trying to get to Simone Lee for like a year plus.
Right.
And then in like a flash, there was like, yes. And I was very, very happy. But I love what you said about the bell. I don't know. I guess it's sometimes when you just know it's right. Like this sculpture was my second favorite. I thought it was going to be something else, but then when I saw the designs, I knew that it was this one. Yeah.
I had a chance to work with the painter Sam Messer on. We worked on something else for a while and got to be friends, me and Sam and Eleanor, and so I got to work with him a little on the cover of Ballads, and I knew that I wanted it not to be black and white or white and black, that I wanted to go over the edge into color, lots of different colors. And I'm very excited by it. It's a joyous cover. It's not a joyous book unless we think about human consciousness, growing. It's got a lot of hard subjects in it, and that seems right for these years that we've all been living through,
right,
together and apart.
Yeah.
I
think, on that note, Sharon, I didn't even say the poems that you read were so like, I would say raw and just they were hard and in this way that like you are the poet of. And I know, and you know, it's so funny. Yesterday, I did this thing that you talk about, which is like kiss your wrist. I did that. And I just wondered if you could share with me and with us, like, what are the ways that you take care of yourself? Like you're paying attention, you're a feeling person, which is sometimes hard. How do you take care?
Well, I think self-pity helped me a lot for a long time. I didn't understand until I was about 70 that the work of staying out of debilitating melancholy was human work that took active commitment. And in a way, I've been thinking maybe some poets like me have been a little passive in certain ways in terms of their writing, that is just waiting until the line comes to them and then writing it and then waiting not very long until the next line comes. So I haven't thought of writing as consciously active. And also I'm a chicken. I mean, I don't like getting out in view where I'm like susceptible to criticism. And also, like so many children who grew up in one kind of difficult family home or block or city or culture. I thought God wanted us to not like ourselves. That seemed clear. At least we could have the intelligence to, you know, hate ourselves. And so I'm someone who has a kind of double nature, I would say. I would love to hear you answer the same question. I was born cheerful. There's no question. And I was born just eager to smell, see, hear, taste, and dance anything that was there. And then, like most people, I had some challenges, and they really, to some extent, turned me against myself. Not so that I couldn't write or love or live or protest. There were things I could do, but in terms of when I'm alone by myself, it's a challenge. And so kissing my wrist is a way of being silly, which I like. And it's also daring in the sight of the old God who used to see everything in my head and everything, to not be negative. And also the meanness to oneself, it's just not a good idea.
Yeah, no, I like that. That was super honest. I've been thinking about like, I've been calling it glimmers, like just thinking about really paying attention to what is glimmering, you know, in the course of a day. And yeah, that's been a recent practice to, I mean, I guess it's in some ways you're saying, you know, it's like gratitude practice, but it's a little bit more like things that I could easily overlook, but I want to stay with a bit longer.
Right.
And that's a way to care for myself in this mean world.
Yes, I also should say that my late beloved was the first person, the first guy, and that's my eros, as it happens, with whom I'd had an equal devotion. And I never knew what that was like. I mean, I had wonderful times and wonderful loves, but the real thing. So that that changed me a lot and
Mhm.
probably opened me to realize that I had a problem about self-image.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it my
I'm
turn? Whose turn is it? Oh my. Oh
well, I
yeah.
think it's the last. If you want to ask one more question, Sharon?
I want to say one more thing.
Okay.
I noticed in your brilliant images
Mhm.
that many of them are metaphors. Mine are all similes
Mhm.
because my brain sees similarities between things and my heart fears acknowledging that sometimes one thing is another. And my example was, I might have, if I would love to have said, not strollers like plows, right?
Mhm.
Strollers like plows. But the way you did it was strollers maneuvering like horseless plows. So I now have another thing once I start teaching again, is to talk about metaphor and simile in relation to verbs.
Mm.
So
I mean,
thank you for that.
no, thank you, Sharon. It's not like I didn't notice that, so thank you. um, okay, well, I'm gonna read another couple of poems or one or two, and then we'll close out.
Thank
Okay,
you, love.
great. Thank you for that. Oh, I just feel like I got to have the dream date I've been wanting for years.
That's right. Me
Um,
too. Me too.
okay, so we'll do two. This is called Blueprint. As I lay on the prickly grass, grasshoppers chattered in my hair. I stroked the ground like a beard. No one sang. The whole sky was watching. It's animal piss in the dye pot that makes indigo blue. Blue seeped out of me, but I wanted to forge it myself. I was obsessed with making. The yellow leaves browned. The sugar pine needles refused to shed. I couldn't get the pigment right. It kept turning to mud. I had attempted this before, making wine from another's body, stamping and stomping my grape-stained feet. When I rose, I left the print of a woman behind. I noticed the pear tree, how it gave without question. I asked anyway, was asking again, collecting broken seashells and tiny elephant figurines. I needed a herd of blue. I soaked black beans for the color they left. My blue was a habit, a kind of river I stepped into, sometimes crossed, because it held the sky so perfectly. I swung the axe. I swam with my arms. I hammered nails, though crookedly. Timber was my sacrum. Timber were my metatarsals. Timber was my lungs' pink flesh. Timber was my skull. I was a blueprint, blue on blue, mapless but for those warm bones and my red heart barking. And when I turned, without making my skirt a basket, when I turned from all the fallen pears, the sky was full of shaking, wet with river water. It wasn't rain that fell. Whatever it was, I collected in the cups of my hands. All right, so I'm going to read one last poem, and I guess I will just say again, thank you for being here.
Yes.
Thank you,
Hi,
Sharon.
everyone. Hi.
Thank you, Sharon OG Olds. I love you dearly. Thank you to my family and friends and all y'all. So, Diamondback, like an organ coiled deep inside, or a lasso of lightning and high noon, the rattlesnake traveled the length of my spine, sunning itself inside me. Then death, some call it God, drew a diamond on the snake's back and marked my chest with feeling. How godly the two of us were, shaking what was hollow. Dirt stained the front of my blouse. I felt venom rise in my ears. I rubbed myself against a rock, turning my skin bronze and flawless. This is how I became a woman. Sun slithering across my back, dust glittering my tongue, the snake's tail whirring. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ama. What a beautiful reading. And like, I've been watching the chat the whole time. Everyone is so appreciative, so affirming. And it was nice to see y'all's relationship right here. So loving and warm. I would say there was nothing but warmth all evening. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm about to copy and paste again the link to buy the book along with the coupon code right there. But again, thank you everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you, Micah. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. I love you.
Love you.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for
Bye.
coming. Thank you, Micah.